Don't let him die, not yet. The voice did not belong on a battlefield. It was too calm, too deliberate, cutting through the crackle of burning circuitry and the distant groans of collapsing metal like a blade through silk. Elias Varn heard it dimly through the ringing in his ears, though he was certain no one human had spoken. Humans didn't sound like that, not here, not now, not at the edge of annihilation. He lay on his back beneath the shattered hull of a downed cruiser, its jagged plating arching over him like the ribs of some dead mechanical beast. The sky above Velcaris flickered in unnatural shades of violet and deep blue, fractured by orbital debris still falling in slow streaks of fire. The air tasted metallic, heavy with ionized dust and something else, something sweet, almost floral that didn't belong in a war zone. Elias tried to move. His body disagreed. Pain surged through him, not sharp but deep and final, like something inside him had already decided to stop trying. His armor had fused in places, blackened and cracked, and each breath came shallow, uneven. He couldn't feel his left arm. That seemed important but distant. Bootsteps approached, not the heavy, hurried impact of human soldiers scrambling through debris. These were quieter, measured, almost graceful. A shadow fell across his face. Elias forced his eyes open wider, blinking through the haze. At first he thought the figure standing over him was a trick of the light, too still, too precise. Then the details sharpened. Humanoid, tall, slender but not fragile. Skin pale, not white, but faintly luminous, as if it held its own soft glow beneath the surface. Long, elegant fingers hovered just above him, never quite touching. And the eyes. The eyes were wrong. Too large, slightly elongated, their irises shimmering with a subtle silver sheen that caught the fractured light of the burning sky. They studied him with an intensity that felt less like observation and more like dissection. Elias let out a dry, broken laugh. "If you're here to finish me off," he rasped, "you're late. I'm already doing the job for you." The figure tilted its head, slow and curious, as if the concept of humor was being processed rather than understood. "You speak," the being said softly, the same voice from before. The language was perfect, but the cadence slightly off, too precise, despite catastrophic injury. "Yeah," Elias muttered, coughing. "It's kind of our thing." For a moment neither moved. Around them the battlefield crackled and hissed. Far off something exploded, distant enough not to matter anymore. The alien knelt. Up close the details became sharper, stranger. Subtle veins of faint light traced beneath her skin, pulsing slowly, like a heartbeat visible to the naked eye. Her features were symmetrical to an unsettling degree, almost sculpted rather than grown. And yet there was something unmistakably alive in the way her gaze shifted, not cold but searching. "You are human," she said, more to herself than to him. Elias managed a weak smirk. "Last I checked." Her eyes flicked across his armor, scanning. A faint, almost invisible shimmer passed over him, some kind of technology, silent and seamless. Her expression changed just slightly. "Designation, Elias Varn," she read quietly. "Infantry class, no genetic enhancements, no rank of strategic value." "Wow," Elias wheezed. "You really know how to make a guy feel special." For the first time there was a pause in her composure. A flicker, uncertainty, confusion. "You display humor at the threshold of death," she said. "That is inefficient." "Yeah," he murmured, his vision blurring at the edges. "We're inefficient like that." Another set of footsteps approached, this time faster, sharper. 3 more figures emerged from the haze, each similar in form but distinct in subtle ways. One had faintly darker, almost silver-toned skin. Another's eyes glowed faintly blue. Their presence carried weight, authority. They stopped several paces away, their attention locking immediately onto Elias. And then something unexpected happened. They hesitated. One of them stepped forward slightly, narrowing his eyes. "This is a human survivor," he said, his voice colder, more controlled. "Why is it still alive?" The first alien, she had not given her name, did not look away from Elias. "Because I have not allowed it to die." "That is not your decision to make," another replied sharply. "We are not collectors of strays." Elias blinked slowly, trying to follow the exchange. "Wow," he whispered, barely audible. "Didn't realize I was causing political tension." The blue-eyed one looked directly at him, expression tightening, not in anger but something closer to discomfort. "It speaks too easily," he muttered. "It's called being alive," Elias said faintly. "You should try it." That did it. A ripple of something passed between the aliens, not quite fear but unease, subtle, controlled but unmistakable. The first alien finally turned her head toward them. "He is dying," she said simply. "Observe." They did, and for a moment silence returned. Elias felt it too, his body slipping further, each breath shallower than the last. The edges of the world were fading, sounds stretching into something distant and hollow. Strangely, he wasn't afraid. Just tired. Then let him die, the silver-skinned one said at last. It is the natural conclusion. No, she replied. The word was quiet but absolute. All three turned toward her. Elias forced a weak grin. You know, he whispered, I'm starting to like you. Her gaze returned to him, and for the first time something almost human flickered there, something unreadable but not empty. You should not, she said softly. Then before any of the others could react, she moved. Her hand came to rest against his chest, lightly, almost gently. Elias felt it immediately, not warmth, something deeper, a pulse, not his own. What are you doing? One of the others demanded, stepping forward. This human, she said, her voice lower now, almost thoughtful, is not empty. Elias let out a faint breath. I mean, I skipped breakfast, but... He didn't finish, because suddenly her grip tightened, and the faint glow beneath her skin flared just for a second. The others froze. Do you feel it? She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Elias didn't know what she meant, but something deep inside him stirred in response. The first thing Elias noticed was the silence, not the kind that followed explosions or the temporary lull between distant artillery strikes, but a deep, controlled quiet, like the world itself had decided to hold its breath. He opened his eyes slowly, expecting fire, smoke, pain. Instead, he saw a ceiling that seemed to be alive. It shimmered faintly, like liquid glass suspended overhead, veins of dim silver light drifting through it in slow, organic patterns. The air was cool, carrying that same strange, floral scent from the battlefield, only now it was stronger, cleaner. Elias inhaled sharply and immediately froze. No pain. His chest rose fully, smoothly. No stabbing, no resistance. No broken ribs protesting every breath. That's not right, he muttered. He sat up too quickly, and for a moment the world snapped into sharp focus in a way that made his stomach turn. Every detail flooded in at once. The subtle hum of unseen machinery, the faint rhythmic pulses inside the walls, even the distant movement of something beyond the room. It was overwhelming, like his senses had been dialed far past what they were meant to handle. Easy. The voice came from his right. He turned instinctively and instantly regretted it. The motion was too fast. The room didn't blur, it snapped. Every line, every shadow, every reflection shifted with unnatural clarity. She was there. The same alien from the battlefield, standing a few steps away, watching him with that same intense, measured gaze. Up close, her presence felt heavier now, not physically, but in a way he couldn't quite explain. Like the space around her had a different weight to it. You're still here, Elias said, blinking rapidly. Either I survived, or this is a very weird afterlife. You survived, she replied. He looked down at himself. The armor was gone. In its place, a smooth, dark fabric covered his body, fitted but flexible, unfamiliar. His skin, he paused. Okay, he said slowly, turning his arm under the light. That's new. Faint lines, barely visible, ran beneath his skin like delicate threads of pale light moving just under the surface. They pulsed once subtly in sync with his heartbeat. He flexed his fingers, stronger, not dramatically. Not like some exaggerated transformation, just efficient, precise, like his body had been recalibrated. I should be dead, he said flatly. Yes, she agreed. He glanced at her. Reassuring. Before she could respond, the door, if it could be called that, shifted open without a sound. 3 figures entered, the same ones from the battlefield. They stopped the moment they saw him upright. And again, that hesitation. Elias noticed it this time, really noticed it. You're looking at me like I grew a second head, he said. Should I check? The silver-skinned one stepped forward, ignoring the comment. His eyes scanned Elias with visible tension. Impossible, he said under his breath. The one with the faint blue glow narrowed his gaze. His vital signatures are stable. More than stable, the third added quietly. They are synchronized. Elias raised an eyebrow. I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to pretend it's a compliment. None of them reacted to the humor this time. Their attention was fixed intensely on him. The first alien, still standing near Elias, spoke calmly. He has retained cognitive autonomy. That is not the concern, the silver-skinned one replied sharply. The concern is that he should not exist in this state. Elias crossed his arms, then paused, surprised at how natural the movement felt. Okay, I'm starting to feel a little attacked here. The blue-eyed alien stepped closer. Elias felt it immediately, not a touch, Not even a visible action, but something pressed against his awareness, like a presence brushing against the edges of his mind, searching. Instinctively, Elias flinched. The alien recoiled, actually recoiled, a visible step back, his expression shifting just slightly for the first time. "What did you just do?" he demanded. Elias blinked. "What did I just do?" "You're the one doing the creepy mind thing." Silence, the three exchanged a glance, quick, subtle, but charged with something new. Uncertainty. "That is not possible," the silver-skinned one said again, but this time it lacked conviction. The first alien's gaze sharpened, focused entirely on Elias. "You felt him," she said quietly. "Yeah," Elias replied. "Kind of hard not to, it's like someone knocking without asking." "No," she said, stepping closer. "You did more than feel him." Elias frowned. "I didn't do anything." But even as he said it, something inside him stirred again. That same pulse, deeper this time, and suddenly the room changed, not visually, but in a way he couldn't explain. The air felt responsive, like it was aware of him. The three aliens stiffened almost in unison. One of them, he couldn't tell which, took another step back. "Do you sense it?" the blue-eyed one whispered. "I do," the other replied, quieter than before. "It is spreading." Elias looked between them, now genuinely concerned. "Okay, you guys are really not helping with the whole 'I'm not a problem' situation." The first alien moved even closer now, standing directly in front of him. Her eyes locked onto his, searching deeper, more intensely than before. "You are changing," she said. Elias exhaled slowly. "Yeah, I figured that part out." "No," she corrected softly. "You are not merely changing." A faint glow pulsed beneath his skin again. Stronger. The others saw it. And this time they didn't hide their reaction, not fear, something sharper, something closer to realization. "You are altering the resonance," the silver-skinned one said, his voice tight. "That should be impossible." Elias gave a weak smile. "You keep saying that." The first alien's expression shifted again, just slightly. Not confusion. Not curiosity, something else, something that looked dangerously close to awe. "You are not becoming one of us," she said. Elias swallowed. "Yeah, I had a feeling." Her voice dropped, quieter now, almost reverent. "You are becoming something we have never seen." The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't controlled. It was uncertain. And for the first time since waking up, Elias felt it too, not just the change in his body, but the weight of what it meant. "Great," he muttered under his breath. "No pressure." They brought him before the high court in chains that weren't meant to hold a body, but a presence. Elias noticed that immediately. The restraints wrapped around his wrists shimmered faintly, not physically tight, but heavy in a way that pressed against his mind more than his muscles. Every step he took echoed through the vast chamber, a cathedral of living metal and suspended light, where towering figures watched from elevated tiers like distant stars observing a singular anomaly. He glanced down at the chains. "Just to be clear," he said, his voice carrying more steadily than he expected, "these are for me or for whatever you think I've become." No one answered. At the center of the chamber, a raised platform pulsed with slow, rhythmic light. Upon it stood the high court, 5 figures, each more refined, more controlled than any he had seen. Their skin shimmered with intricate patterns of faint luminescence, their eyes glowing with a depth that felt ancient, layered with centuries of memory and authority. And yet even they were watching him carefully. That was new. "You stand before the sovereign conclave of the Noctari Dominion," one of them spoke, voice resonating not just in the air but inside his chest. "You exist in violation of biological law." Elias exhaled softly. "Yeah, I've been getting that a lot today." A faint ripple moved through the chamber. Not quite amusement, but something close enough to it that a few of the observing nobles shifted uncomfortably. The alien who had saved him stood nearby, her posture composed, but her gaze fixed on Elias with a quiet intensity that hadn't left since the battlefield. "He is not in violation," she said. "He is evidence." "Of what?" Another member of the court demanded, their eyes narrowing slightly. She didn't hesitate. "Of evolution." Silence, not the controlled silence of authority. The kind that spreads when something dangerous has just been spoken aloud. Elias scratched the back of his neck lightly. "Okay, I'm really starting to wish I had stayed unconscious." "Step forward," the central figure commanded. The chains loosened, not by unlocking, but by releasing. Elias felt the pressure lift from his mind, and without resistance he stepped onto the platform. Every eye in the chamber followed him, and then it happened again. That pulse, stronger this time. It spread outward from him, not visibly but undeniably. The air itself seemed to shift, like a current passing through something invisible. Elias felt it move through his chest, into his arms, his spine, then outward, touching everything. The court reacted instantly. One of them staggered, just slightly, but enough to break the illusion of perfect control. Another's glow flickered unevenly. Across the chamber, murmurs rose, subtle but unmistakable. "What is he doing?" Someone whispered. "I'm not doing anything," Elias said quickly, raising his hands. "This is just happening." "That is precisely the problem," the silver-skinned noble from before said sharply. "Your existence is destabilizing the Dominion." Elias looked at him, then at the others, and for the first time he understood, not fully, but enough. "You're not scared I'm going to destroy you," he said slowly. No one answered, but their silence confirmed it. "You're scared I'm going to change you." That landed, harder than anything else. The chamber tightened, not physically, but in presence. The weight of centuries of control, of carefully maintained order, suddenly felt fragile. "He must be contained," one of the court declared, "or terminated." A ripple of agreement followed. Elias let out a small breath. "Yeah, that sounds about right." The alien who had saved him stepped forward immediately. "You will not. You have already overstepped," another cut her off. "Your actions created this." Elias glanced at her. "Hey," he said quietly, "for what it's worth, thanks." Her eyes flickered toward him, something sharp, almost defiant. Then the court moved, not physically, but he felt it. That same pressure as before, only this time stronger, coordinated. 5 minds, ancient and powerful, pressing inward, trying to contain, to suppress, to overwrite. Elias tensed instinctively, and something inside him answered, not with resistance, with expansion. The pulse exploded outward. The chamber reacted like a living thing struck by lightning. Light flickered wildly across the walls, the faint glow beneath the Noctari skin surging, destabilizing. Several of them stepped back, this time not subtle. The court itself faltered, for a fraction of a second. That was all it took. Elias gasped, not in pain, but in realization. He could feel them now. Not their thoughts, not exactly, but their structure. The way their biology, their consciousness, their entire existence was connected, layered, dependent, controlled. "And fragile. I'm not your enemy," he said, his voice steady, carrying across the chamber without effort. "But I'm not something you can lock away either." The pressure against him wavered, not broken, but uncertain. "You don't understand what you are," one of the court said, their voice less certain now. Elias nodded slightly. "Yeah, that makes 2 of us." A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "But I know what I'm not." The pulse settled, not gone, but controlled. The chaotic energy that had filled the chamber began to stabilize, but something had changed. Permanently. The Noctari felt it. They looked at him differently now, not just with suspicion. With something else, respect and fear. "You could unmake us," the central figure said quietly. Elias shook his head. "No." He met their gaze one by one. "I could change you." Silence followed, long, heavy, real. Then slowly the alien who had saved him stepped beside him, not behind, not in defense, but in alignment. A choice, visible to everyone. The court watched them both, and for the first time in what felt like centuries, they hesitated. Not because they lacked power, but because, for the first time, power wasn't entirely theirs. Elias exhaled softly, looking out across the vast chamber at an empire that had never needed to question itself until now. "So," he said almost casually, "what happens next?" No one answered immediately, because for the first time they didn't already know.